Hey everybody, as promised, I'm going to do two teachings today because today the 1st of May is also the memorial of St. Joseph the Worker. Now, in order to understand this memorial, we need to understand a bit of its origins. You see, in the year 1889, unchecked capitalism began to tear families apart as profit started to become the goal of work rather than as a means of providing for one's family. Now, an even greater concern was the introduction of the philosophy of socialism, which was coupled by atheism. Socialism presented itself as a friend and an ally to the worker, but it did so through objectively distorted means. Socialism sought to eliminate religion. It sought to eliminate the family and sought to eliminate private ownership of property. Instead, each individual was to become a subject of the state, while the state literally took the place of God. Work was for the fatherland, was for the motherland. Work was not primarily to care for one's family. And it is in this context that first Pope Leo XIII pointed the faithful in the direction of St. Joseph. In St. Joseph, workers had someone to emulate. St. Joseph did not work to get rich. He was not a servant of the state. He was not an oppressed laborer who needed liberating. He was a family man who found dignity in work as he provided for his family in a very humble way. The idea of communism continued to gain support from many leaders around the world. Communism, socialism. And at this point of time now, the entire nations had begun to succumb to ideas of communism. So in 1937, Pope Pius XI realized the serious threat that communism posed to the common good, and so he called upon St. Joseph to protect the church from the many errors of communism. He wrote and he said these words, he said, "We place the vast campaign of the Church against world communism under the standard of Joseph, her mighty protector." Now, as a result of Pope Pius XI's words, Catholics fervently began to pray to St. Joseph, specifically under a very interesting title, the terror of demons. And they did this to combat the atheistic ideas of communism. They also invoked the help of St. Joseph in the cause of workers' rights. Finally, to confront the growing concerns that kept increasing, the concerns posed by communism and its socialist philosophy on human labor and also on family life, you had finally Pope Pius XII, who instituted the feast of St. Joseph the Worker in the year 1955. It was his hope to foster a deep devotion to St. Joseph among Catholics in the face of these growing challenges, and also in response to the May Day celebrations for workers that was actually being sponsored by communists. So you can see the popes, 3 of them, over a period of time, realizing the growing threat, all of them turned to St. Joseph and commended workers, and the need for work under the patronage of St. Joseph. Now, very interestingly, our first reading from today's text, if you have attended a Mass which has celebrated the memorial of St. Joseph the Worker, you'll notice that interestingly, the first reading is taken from the book of Genesis. As I said, interestingly, work was not a part of God's original plan for humanity. You might recall that when Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden, what does God say to Adam? He says, "Cursed is the ground because of you." And then he says, "In toil you shall yield and eat its yield." Thus, working by the sweat of your brow has become the consequence of original sin. However, and this is a big however, we must not see this consequence therefore as something evil, but we must now look at it as a means by which we fulfill our human mission. You know, by work, humankind both fulfills the command found in Genesis to care for the earth and to be productive in their labors. St. Joseph the carpenter and the foster father of Jesus is but one example of the holiness of human labor. Jesus too was a carpenter. He learned the trade from St. Joseph, and he spent his early adult years perhaps working side by side in Joseph's carpentry shop before leaving to pursue his ministry as a preacher and as a healer. Human labor, my dear friends, has dignity. It has dignity because it is an act of obedience to the will of God and is a participation in the work of God, in the work of creation. Today, as we honor St. Joseph the worker, I invite you to ponder your own call to engage in the dignity of work. As you do, put your work into proper perspective. What is the goal of your work? Do you work in an excessive way? Are you always seeking excessive gain? Do you grumble about your work and feel as though it is beneath you, holding you back from personal fulfillment? I want to invite you today, and I want to encourage yourself, each one of you, to strive for the virtuous way of St. Joseph. Work hard to fulfill your vocation in life and avoid excesses and extremes. You know, we are made for love, my dear friends. We are made for love, we are made for family, for faith, for charity, and for the glory of God and the salvation of souls. If your goals in life are anything other than these, then I recommend that you go to St. Joseph the worker and choose him as your model. Thank you for joining me. I know today has been the second teaching, but if you like this, which gives you a background into the history of this celebration, and if you like the explanation, do hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it. Also, there's a bell icon. Hit that bell icon. Each time we put up a video, you'll get a notification. This morning in the first teaching, I forgot to thank those who would contribute to the breakfast, lunch or dinner served at our children's home in Goa. If you'd like in the season of, in this holiday season, while you take a break, to also share a little love with our children, please do so. And for those of you who would like to make a larger contribution to the purchase of the girls' home, which we are looking to purchase, then please get in touch with me. My numbers always appear on the screen. Thank you. God bless you. God protect you always.